Hey, welcome to YouTube Model Builders Live. Who's Big Bill talking to this evening? Today is January 9th, 2019. Hello out there to JT, Touch of the Brush Model Weathering. Cheryl Crow, hello. War Bonnet, Trains, all you guys coming in now. They're just coming over from the other live Sparky chat, so that's good to have you guys all here. Tonight we have a special guest with us, and before we get to him, we got to do the homework. Tomorrow, what's today? Wednesday. Tomorrow is Thursday, and tomorrow on Thursday, every Thursday, rain, shine, hail, major catastrophe, hurricanes, whatever, we always have Johnny's Train Talk show. That's where you, the community, are invited in as well to join in. If you have a project going, a question going, or you just want to share something that you've made or that you are in the process of making, you're all invited to come in. If not, we have a Q&A that's set up as well on that. You can ask a ton of questions. Usually we have guys like Ralph Renzetti, a.k.a. the Mudfather, in, and Andy Crawford, who, by the way, last night was their fine scale show, and I got to tell you, that was off the hizzy. That show, that was the place. That was the bomb. I'm using all these 70 language, but it was good. And the show was good last night. They were doing Hydrocal, Craftsman builds, so check out the fine scale show. And then on the 16th, we got Joe's Train Room with Joe Desmond and Central Conrail in N Scale, and he'll be doing his show. Have to find out what it is. Because we haven't been in contact. He's been back to work now ever since after his little medical condition. Everything's all right with him. And then on the 23rd, it's yours truly, Big Bill, back with Who is Big Bill talking to, with a special guest. And without further ado, I want to introduce our special guest tonight, Steve Atwell from Midwest Model Railroad and Hobby Shop that he owns. Welcome, Steve.
Hi, Bill. How's it going?
It's going well. I'm glad that you can make it. Steve is a fellow New Yorker. He actually is a fellow New Yorker, because whenever we get together and talk, he just gripes about the city and the subway and everything. So he's an official New Yorker, and he actually says coffee and stuff like that, But he's with us. He splits time between here and his home and doing Midwest Model Hobbies. Just to give you guys a little insight, Steve was one of the original guys that started up this YouTube model building team, and Mike Phillips and Ron Pierre had gotten together they came up with this concept and stuff like that. And, so he was one of the original founding guys on this, and he's done some really good, he's got a great N-scale layout in his house. And he's also, I would say he may prefer, but probably not. I think he's an excellent scratch builder, and he's done some really, really good work and stuff like that. So, Steve, what have you been up to lately? How is Midwest Models Hobby Shop coming along?
It's great. We had a really great 2018, and as a result of that, some new and interesting things are happening in 2019. We've already brought on more staff to help get packages out on time, making sure to keep our commitment to getting packages out within a day, and keep our prices incredibly low. So everyone wears a lot of hats, but we do everything we can to keep our costs to a bare minimum. I make sure your guys' costs is to a bare minimum.
I think that's great. I do. I purchase from you guys. But I see, man, you are all over the place. Every time I turn around, if I look at Ron's Trains and Things, if I look at Steve Brown, a regular guy railroad, you are in the midst of it. You are out there doing it. That's good, man. I like to see that. How'd you get involved with those guys?
Ron and I got involved via Eric Hall. Eric Hall and I have known each other for years, and Ron was hosting a contest last year for the top of the year, and Eric introduced us and said it might be something we're interested in participating in, and based on the contest we were, and so we got involved in the weathering contest Ron hosted last year. Ron's hosting it again this year, so we're happy to be involved in it again this year. And then Steve Brown actually Eric had mentioned a new YouTube channel, and I had gone and seen a couple of Steve Brown videos and came across a giveaway that he wanted to do for his 5,000 subscriber. I think it was his 5,000 subscriber, and he mentioned he wanted to give away gift cards. So I reached out to him and asked him if he'd approached anybody about sponsoring his giveaway, and he had, and he'd gotten very lukewarm responses from a few hobby shops he reached out to, and so we were happy to participate and jumped in to help participate there. And Steve's become a pretty good friend. We talk often, and I think he's providing great content to help grow this hobby.
I think he is too, as well. You know, I really do. What was I gonna? I'm looking to see if there's any questions. Everybody's saying hello to each other. It's like they haven't seen each other in years, you know. But anyway, let's see. Hi, Sam Cool. Hello, Northern Ohio Railroad Action, Touch of the Brother. Everybody's saying hello. 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 Anyway, there it is. But now, I have to say that last year, Steve and I, we kind of like went up to Amherst together, carpooled. You know, I picked him up. He lives in Upper Manhattan. I went and picked him up, and we drove up. And I have to tell you, that was the most interesting 3 days, other than doing the clinics and seeing the show, but it was the most educational time I ever had, because I got to see the behind the scenes of the distributors, how things work, how the hobby end of it works. And for all you guys out there that think that this is like, oh yeah, I'll just start a hobby shop up, and I'll just like, what were some of the obstacles that you ran into? Well, first of all, what was the reason behind starting Midwest? I mean, what was the driving point behind that?
So when we started Midwest, my father just got back into model railroading. He was in model railroading when I was a kid. I remember a layout in the basement, which, you know, in my mind as a child, it felt like this expansive, huge layout. And looking back at it years later, it's probably more like a 14 by 20 layout. But, you know, right, for a child, it was this massive, massive thing. But then once we started moving, we moved a bit when I was in like 4th, 5th, 6th grade. The layout went away and never came back. I got re-involved in model railroading in college. And then shortly after, I think I was living in Tennessee at the time, I had an in-scale layout. My father was in Kansas City, or my father was working overseas and was visiting home in Kansas City. When I was there, we'd try to go to a hobby shop, and we quickly found that hobby shops around Kansas City, and I found that there was problems in Nashville as well. I couldn't really find any in-scale. There was no one really supplying a full in-scale lineup. I mean, we could go online, we could find things online, but no one was really looking at the in-scale market and saying, look, we need to provide everything that these guys need, not just a few of the things these people need. So we reached out to start your kind of all-around in-scale shop where you could get all the detail parts, the new rolling stock. You didn't have to go to 6 different places in order, or you can get it in one clean place. And one of the things, as we started really getting into it, was the hobby wasn't at an attainable level for most people. Like, everything was high priced, everything was sold near MSRP. You could get discounts from some of the biggest, from the big online retail shops. You could get pretty good discounts, but it was always hit or miss what you might get. Some of the big shops, their customer service was really poor. So we wanted to provide the best customer service, and we wanted to provide the best prices. And so from day one, we structured ourselves to keep our cost to a bare minimum so that we could provide a service at a price that is attainable to more people. And within a couple years, we expanded. We decided that, you know, we didn't just want to be an in-scale shop anymore, so we started expanding into HO scale. And yeah, it's, you know, we started in 2011, so we're in our 8th year now.
Yeah.
And growing steadily, making sure we're a debt-free company. We choose to not take on debt because debt really just ends up raising the prices for the customer. So we grow slowly. We might not have all the products that some of the biggest do, but we're able to provide the products we do have for a price that is more palatable for everyone.
Yeah, true. I agree with you. I have a question from Sparky 107. He says, Steve, do new manufacturers contact you, or do you not normally contact them? How do you strike a deal with a new manufacturer?
With new manufacturers, we generally have to contact them. With the rare, there's occasionally exceptions to the rule, but 99% of the time, it's on us to contact them. Like when Highways and Byways, or John Howard first introduced his road striping stuff, and he sent it out to a handful of YouTube model railroaders that were on YouTube.
Right.
He'd sent it out to a handful of them, and a couple of them I was pretty good friends with, and had heard that they got this product from John Howard, and they were to try it out. And I got a couple opinions about it from them, and reached out to him and said, I know that you might be trying to sell this individually. I'd like to help you out with that. We'd like to carry it in store. And we were the first time John's ever sold anything to a retailer. Like, it's the first time he's ever joined that style of chain, a supply chain for a product. So there was a learning curve. We taught him a bit how we do business and how we do business with other manufacturers, and worked out a deal. And in that case, we became the first hobby shop to carry his products.
Well, we were talking. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Steve.
Oh, and then we'll go to trade shows, and we'll go through all the products, all the booths of the trade shows, and try to find products that we think would be a good fit and a quality enough to keep in store. And so we end up picking up products that way as well. And sometimes we'll contact them directly to do ordering, and sometimes we'll talk to one of our distributors and see if they had the same opinion about, oh, did you get over to see this booth? Or one of the distributors, actually both of the distributors were at the trade show, in the National Trade Show in July. And so we went through the first day, and then went over to the distributor's booth and said, hey, did you get a chance to go see this booth, and this booth? We're interested in the products. We're curious how you feel about the products. Like, we could order direct, but we'd be happy to order it through you as well. You know, so it all depends.
Could you, just for those out there, because I had an education when we drove up to Amherst, we stopped by one of the distributors that you use. Now, the guy, we saw him in the office, and you know, Steve introduced me to the guy who deals with Steve, and Steve deals with him. And the guy said, you know, the gentleman said, let's go look at the warehouse. And I was like, oh yeah, this is great. And then we walked into the warehouse. Let me tell you, it's a model railroader's dream. It was. I mean, every shelf was stacked, every piece of equipment that you'd want, everything that you've ever dreamed, engines, rolling, was there. Could you explain to the community here what the relationship is between you and the distributors as a hobby shop owner? Like, because you said they're at the shop and now at the show, and I did see that particular distributor had a little table set up, and he was there, and the woman recognized me from being with you, and I introduced myself. But could you give them the correlation of how that works?
Yeah, we like working through distributors because if we work through a distributor, we can place orders more often and keep our shelves stocked more often. One of the big things, just like a consumer is, we're concerned about shipping costs going in because that just adds to price. So we wait until orders become a certain size, and if I'm only ordering from one manufacturer, say I'm ordering from a City Classics, I'm going to want the order to be $300 to $400 before I place that order. But when the product line is only 40 or 50 products long, that might mean we only get to place an order once every 2 weeks, once every 3 weeks, once a month, once every month and a half. Whereas if it's a distributor and they carry 40 product lines, I'm placing an order with them once a week or once every 2 days to get that discount on shipping based on how large the order is. So if a distributor can carry a product if a distributor can carry an entire product line, we order 10 products from manufacturer A, 10 products from manufacturer B, so on, so on, so on, to make up the shipping costs that way. And so we get to keep our shelves stocked more often of the product lines. And then they go out and strike the deals with all the manufacturers individually, and we only have to worry about our deal with them.
Right. Okay. That makes. Yeah. Redbird Tony 2010 wants to know, Steve, what are some of the new products you plan to carry in the new year?
So already this year, we added a company called Monroe Models. One of their biggest product lines is, most people know the AIM weathering powders. Monroe actually owns that product line, and they started carrying a bunch of they make a bunch of laser kits, laser cut wood kits. They're really great.
How much are those laser wood kits?
It depends. They've got some in the teens, and they go up into the. I don't think they have anything over 100, or at least I don't think that we sell anything that's over $100. I think MSRP on some of their items are up over $100. I don't think we trip into the 3 digits with them.
So the lowest priced one on the wood built.
You can some of the wood built structures. I think you can get them under $15.
Did you hear that, Sparky 107? You can get it under $15, and here's your chance to try your hand at scratch build. Go ahead, Steve. Just that show on Fine.
Yeah, and then one of the lines that we'll be starting to carry soon is JL Innovative.
Oh yeah,
they make a massive line of products, from wood structures to detail parts. So that one's going to start sneaking in over time. And then this year we're going to start really carrying more and more of the DCC systems and keeping them in stock. We've always sold DCC systems, but we've never really kept a lot of them in stock. We've really kept NCE in stock for the last year or so. Once Digitrax gets back up on their feet from the hurricane, we have a large order in for them so that we can have all the Digitrax products in stock so that everyone can take advantage of that being shipped within a day.
Nice.
Yeah, so there's lots of new products coming out. We always think, oh, what's the next line we're going to add? Are there any new lines? Or any this, that, other thing? And it's this endless pit of there are more and more manufacturers out there, and there's a lot of small shops that, or a lot of small companies that make a few products, and all of a sudden their laser cut kits are starting to. Oh, we started with 2 laser cut kits, and now we've got 12 or 15, and they planned on selling them at shows, but then they realized that, oh, this is something more than maybe just selling at a show. Maybe we can make a more of a distributor business out of it.
Right. Well, let me just see. Joe G says, I'm looking at going with Midwest Model Railroad for my hopper cars for the FHW brand. Troy Simpson says, Steve, I have a few orders. I have had a few orders from you, and you gave me a great pricing and timely arrival of all the products. Well done, son. Well done. And who did you say there? Let me see where you are. Well, how far out do you? Oh, how far out do you do train shows? Do you all get out to the Southeast? Do you get out to the South? How far out do you go for train shows? Do you get out to the Southeast?
We have not been out to the Southeast yet. We don't take our shop on the road at all. So when we do attend a train show, we're just attending it as people, spectators. We're there to look at items to potentially bring into the shop. We tried a couple train shows a handful of years ago, and they're very difficult with our business model. We try to do everything we can to keep our inventory spot on, and because our inventory is online and readily available for everyone, we'd have to have an entire second inventory pretty much to sell at the train store, or we would have to pause the website to stop sales while we were at the train show. So in order to continue to provide the customer service we do online, it makes selling at train shows incredibly difficult.
Yeah. Well, I just want to give a shout out because Steve Brown is in the room, and I just want to, that regular guy railroad there. It's the first time I think he's ever been on our show. So thank you very much. Central Jersey. I know I saw Joe Desmond and howdy. Joe, he says, Steve, what is your thought on Shapeways? How has it changed your business model? Has it made a difference? Do you plan on carrying some of these products from Shapeways?
We're never going to put Shapeways in the store, just because it doesn't make any financial sense for us to keep it in the store. Just we would pay the same price that the customer would, because you're picking it up off their. We'd all be picking it up direct off their website. I think it's great for the hobby because it's providing a low barrier of entry for people wanting to make some detail parts. Now, if you have a person or company that wants to do Shapeway and they ship it directly, they do their CAD drawings and they get it printed and shipped to themselves, and then they want to sell that in a retail setting, we can do stuff like that and be selling Shapeway products in store. But it's more likely that the producer is going to sell directly to, or the creator is going to sell directly to the consumer.
Okay. I'm sorry, excuse me. I got a tickle in my throat. Perusing some of these questions here. Let me see. Ron's Trains and Things says, JL Innovative makes some fantastic wood kits. What I know we've talked about this in our private conversations, but just, again, what are your thoughts on this, on the internet versus brick and mortar that we've been getting into? Does it?
So there's a lot of conversation about the internet. I think the most common, and I'm going to call it a misconception because it's just not true, is that internet is killing brick and mortar. And while brick and mortar stores seem to be going away, it's not because the internet is actively killing them. It's because they've chosen to not stay current with modern trends. The consumer is no longer shopping in the consumer shopping habits have changed. And I think it's a pretty common saying that if you're not growing or staying current, you're shrinking. And that seems to be the case with your brick and mortar stores. I've been doing a lot of research about space recently because we're outgrowing our warehouse that we're in, so we're looking for a new warehouse space, and I'm doing a lot of research about a lot of books, a lot of online videos about retail space, about industrial space in general, and what all of them say over the last 10 years is that there's been a big change in how they're having to market themselves as space to businesses because they're seeing all the traditional brick and mortars disappear. But what's taking their place as far as their leases go, and they're converting some retail space into warehousing space because the internet stores are ended up taking the space. And in doing so, the big thing now is providing a lot of different means to get your product. You can order it online. You can pick it up in store. You might be able to go browse in store. Like, you have to provide a service to the customer. And if you're only providing one service to the customer where your only option is to come pick through a generally speaking, out of the hobby shop, most hobby shops that I've visited, a poorly maintained inventory via either what's available to you in store or how organized it is. Organization seems to be pretty poor in our hobby retail shops that I've been to.
Yeah, that's true.
So it comes down to a question of, are the stores providing the service that you want them to provide? Especially with younger generations, I think younger generations are starting to value the time that they have more. And it's across the board, but I'm seeing it more in younger generations where they may have time to go to a train show, but they would rather spend that time doing something that they would maybe more productive, or if their time is more limited, they might be spending it doing other things.
True.
I know you and I recently had a discussion about rail joiners.
Right.
And
I was just going to bring that up because why I was going to bring that up was Dwight of Northern Star Railroad says, I love brick and mortar stores, but they are fairly far away from me in traffic. And that was something we discussed when it came up with the rail joiners I bought. I had recently bought Atlas rail joiners from Steve at Midwest Model Hobbies, and the total cost was $6. I only bought that one product. It was a total cost of $6.31. And my wife seen it, and she said, "Why don't you head over to Jersey and just go to the hobby shop in Jersey?" Well, I explained to her. I said, as opposed to $6.31, where I have to spend $11 and time on the Jersey Turnpike, and then coming back in traffic, I can wait the 5 days to get it, and it's just that more feasible for me to do that. That's how I choose to, use my time instead of. I'm not saying that I didn't want to go there. It's just how I spent my time, and like we talked about in regards to where our proximity to it, like you and me, and that live in a big metropolitan area, whereas opposed to guys like Dwight and others who don't have the accessibility.
Yeah, and it all comes down to time, right? So yours is in Jersey. You need a packet of rail joiners. Bill lives in Staten Island, so he's got to get in his car, drive across the bridge. It's free to leave, right? You're allowed to leave for free. You got to pay to come.
Yes, I can cross over the bridge and.
So you've spent, I don't know, 45 minutes to an hour to get to your hobby shop, to pick up your $3 pack of rail joiners, to turn around, drive another 45 minutes back, pay $14 to cross a bridge. By the time you've paid for gas, you've spent, it's probably, let's say, minimum of $3 in gas each way. So you're in for $25 for this pack of rail joiners. You do have it today, so there is that benefit. If you need it right then, like you've got it today.
Sure.
But you've spent a minimum of 2 hours of your time and $25 on a pack of rail joiners. And if you can plan ahead, or you have other projects you can do while you're waiting, You can get that same pack of rail joiners for $6. It all comes down to how you want to receive your product. There is a lot of benefit to standing in store and browsing through stuff, and retailers count on that. Most likely, I don't know about Bill, but if I had gone to the store, I would have left with more than a pack of rail joiners.
Oh, of course. I would have left with $300 worth of merchandise.
Yeah.
Of course. That's what you do. You go to Home Depot for the $1.55 screw, and then you get the $300 chop saw and the cement mixer. Why not?
Yeah. So, and that's, retailers have to, the industry is always changing, not just in our hobby, but across the board. Retail is always changing. Industry is always changing. You have to be able to provide the service that the customers want. And for me, like when I do go to a hobby shop, the one thing I generally dislike about going to most hobby shops is I want to be able to quickly find my product, grab it, and go. I don't want the train show experience where I have one product in mind. I go to a train show and I spend 8 hours searching for this product because none of the, oh yeah, well, I think we do have that product. It's in one of these 1,900 boxes. Good luck.
Yeah,
that's not how I'd like to spend my time. I would like to walk in, find something well organized, then to say, oh yeah, that new Microtrains car, it's right here.
Right.
Or that, yeah, we do have that locomotive. Hold on, it's right here.
Right.
And can show you and get it to you quickly. I don't. Time is a big issue for me. Time is a big issue for a lot of people. So I'd rather spend my time in the hobby doing something with my hands rather than, doing something with my hands productive on a railroad. Rather than spending it digging through boxes looking for products I may need.
I hear you.
I don't want to waste. I don't want to lose that time.
Right.
In a brick and mortar store, if it's not well organized and can't give me my product quickly and out the door, it's not for me.
Yeah. Sparky 107 says, when and if you have a product that is stuck on your shelf, do you drop the price or sell on eBay?
We do drop the price. We drop the price pretty quickly. That's one of the things with a limited space, and in order to keep our costs low, a product sitting on a shelf costs us money. Every square foot that we use on the shelf costs. There's a cost involved with that square foot on the shelf. So we try not to have products sitting around longer than 6 months. On products we restock, obviously that's a different story. So like structures and whatnot, that gets restocked all the time. But all the new products that we generally consider one-time throughs, all your new rolling stock, all the stuff like that, we get it in once when it comes out. Whatever quantity we got is generally what we're going to get because they're all limited production runs now. It goes on the shelf. If it sells in the first 6 months, great. It sells at our price. And then once it hits that 6-month mark, we start marking it down, and it hits our clearance section. And then every 6 months after that, we slowly start marking it down in the clearance section too if it sits there for too long. It doesn't do us any good to have it sitting on the shelf. I'm not interested in having dusty products sitting there that aren't moving. So we just keep slowly marking it down as long as we need to get it off the shelf and out the door.
Yeah. Creative Rails, Ben, he asks, with an increase of available highly detailed locomotives, have you found a decrease in sales of super detailed locomotive parts?
No. People, HO scale, Details West, that it still flies off the shelf. We order that often and restock that often. People like Scale Trains and people like Intermountain that are producing some great detailed locomotives. They want you to believe that that's the biggest part of the market, but I can tell you that it is not the biggest part of the market. We all have this, we all want the super detailed, we all want this, we all want that, but that's not what our sales show that consumers are buying. Um,
What are they?
consumers are still buying the Atlas locomotive that the molds were made, 8 years ago, and maybe have been modified a couple times since. In scale, Fox Valley is a big hit, where the locomotive you get out of the box is relatively bare bones. It's a great locomotive. It's on a fantastic chassis, and they provide the detail parts in the box rather than having them installed already. So the parts are there for you. If you choose to install them yourself, they've already provided them in the box, but you save on that labor cost. So products like Fox Valley get to keep that price at a nice level with providing the details if you should want them. Actually, the most difficult thing about details is in scale, like BLMA. When BLMA was sold to Atlas a year or so, 2 years ago now, whatever it was, their detail parts sort of dried up on the market until Atlas could start producing them again. And a lot of them have come out, but they're still lagging behind, and they're sadly missed. There's a lot of people that still look for those parts and can't find them. We get questions about it often, and we have them all on order, and we're waiting for Atlas to roll them back out. But until they're, we're waiting.
Dwight of Northern Star Railroad Line says, I wish manufacturers would give brick and mortar stores a bigger discount to compete online. Sparky 107, what's the percentage of your sales online compared to in store? That would be, you don't really.
Yeah. Well, we do customer pickups often. But that's the thing. Those kind of things go together.
Yeah, true.
Everyone thinks that the online retailer doesn't have, like, one of the big things is, you're not paying the cost you don't have the same cost as a brick and mortar because you're not paying for space. And they seem to forget that it costs just as much to have industrial space as it does to have retail space.
If not more.
Yeah, there are costs involved in any space that you're in.
Right.
And depending on how you want to set your thing up, you're still paying for inventory, fixtures to display your inventory. You still have to stock all this stuff. It's not sitting in cardboard boxes on a free space. All those costs are still involved. What online retailers have done that the brick and mortars haven't, and the brick is they've stayed current with trends. We wouldn't exist if any of the thousands of hobby shops chose to sell the inventory they already had in an online setting. They didn't need to close their hobby shop. They had to reach new customers. You can't, it's difficult to have any hobby shop there are only so many of us in every city.
True. Very true.
So you've got to be able to reach new customers. You always have to reach new customers. If you're not looking to reach new customers, it's a scary thought for business. If I got to a point where I wasn't concerned, if I wasn't concerned about getting new customers to our store all the time, I should get out of the business now, because that is a sign that our business is not going to be doing well. We are always concerned about getting new customers, and your hobby shops aren't. I was born in Rolla, Missouri, and grew up in that town. And sometime in the last year and a half, there was a hobby shop in downtown Rolla called Rolla Hobby. And I remember going there as a kid and picking up model kits or this, that, or the other thing. Or I think a lot of Ather and blue boxes came from there. That hobby store still exists, and I walked into it in the last year and a half or 2 years, and it is terrifying the state that it's in, because they're not, it has to be a hobby for that guy to own that store, because there is no way that store is making any money. The state of the inside of that store is pretty rough.
Pretty rough.
And so it's, there was a time that I remember that was a well-stocked, well-maintained store, and they can complain, well, all my customers went online. It's like, you already had the inventory to be that online shop. You could have been that online shop, but you chose not to.
Right.
And what we're seeing now is some of the online retailers are, we currently allow customer pickup. We have become the local hobby shop for a few handfuls of people from Kansas City. I know some of your guys have been in. Johnny's been in to go shopping.
Right.
Our space is. I like to think that our space is actually set up more as a. It's easier for us to teach new employees to pick products out of something that looks more like a retail space than it does out of a warehouse.
Right.
The products are displayed like they would be in your local hobby shop. We have people come in and go shopping all the time. I like to say that we're sort of a Granges setup, where people can come in. We're generally speaking, we would prefer not to have them wander through the warehouse by themselves, because every time a product moves, it costs a little bit of money. Like, if they pick up a product and put a product down somewhere else, that's going to cost us money sometime, because somebody's going to have to go. One of our guys is going to have to go searching for that product at some point. We're going to have 8 of those products in stock. We're going to sell all 8 of them. When we get down to that last one, we're going to go, where is it?
Yeah.
Well, it's here somewhere. We know there's 8 here somewhere.
Right.
Now we're going to expend. So we prefer to kind of pick it off the shelves ourselves. But if they come in and say, I'm looking for this product, this specific product, it's going to be way faster for us to personally walk them to it and say, here it is. Here, if you would like to look at it, touch it, feel it, whatever. We'll put it back on the shelf where it goes, or you can walk out with it today. So it's more of an escorted experience than it is.
Right. For those guys out there that don't know what Granges is a very large tool shop, and you can
industrial supply
shop. So you can walk in and it's like a warehouse, and you can walk around it and find what you need. If you know what you're looking for, sort of, in a way.
I think long term, a great mix for a local hobby shop would be something like we see in the auto parts industry, with like the O'Reillys and the Advanced Auto Parts or Napa, where we've got thousands and thousands of items, and you can come in and you can stand at the counter, you can get those thousands and thousands of items, and there they are. But we also have hundreds of items that are top sellers, or the windshield wipers and stuff like that are out here on display. And I think in the hobby industry, there's a mix of that. You've got the thousands of items that are like small detail parts and all of these things that are small and easy to warehouse on storage shelves, that have thousands of part numbers, that are great to be in a warehouse style. And then you've got things like the entire Woodland Scenics line that doesn't necessarily need to be in a warehouse style, that could be sitting on display like you would see in an auto parts store.
Right. Gaffa Haynes, I hope I pronounced that right, Gaffa. He said, and then there's a chance that when you drive all the way to the store that they haven't got what you want.
Absolutely.
And then there's a couple of other questions and statements. I just want to get over. Oh, Ralph Renzetti asked, how can a brick and mortar compete with Amazon free delivering and next day shipping?
Well, it's a choice, right? Like, it's not free delivery. That cost is put in there somewhere. Like, you're paying for it somewhere. Either, in order to get a lot of the free delivery, I'm a Prime member. I just understand that I'm paying a yearly fee to have the privilege to shop on Amazon.
That's correct. That is correct.
And I know that I'm paying more for most of the products I purchase on Amazon that I could get potentially elsewhere. And I'm paying more because I'm getting it within 2 days.
Right.
You know, every time I go shopping on Amazon and say, I want this product within 2 days, and I click that checkbox, I know that it's not showing me the cheapest product on Amazon. It's showing me the cheapest product that's available for 2-day shipping on Amazon.
Right.
It's more expensive than buying it from your hobby shop, generally speaking. But then it's just a choice for the hobby shop. Like you can, if all their products are listed in a web space, that they can sell them and charge regular rates for shipping, as long as people are willing to wait a couple extra days, they can have that product generally cheaper than they would pay on Amazon.
True. Eric Ball says, now that my local hobby shop is gone, I need to plan my orders. Example, I order a bunch of MTL couplers for models I do not have and other small items in advance. That's
Yeah, we see a lot of that. We see a lot of people, and I know I'm this way. I know Bill's this way. We keep our own individual parts shop, right? And my Katie number 5 section is empty. I better order a new large pack of Katie number 5s. I know I'm going to use at least 90% of them over time. I'm going to probably use 100% of them, and I'm probably going to have to restock them again. Those products that we all know we're going to use over and over and over again. Let's say wheel sets, for instance. Like I'm pretty sure Bill has a stock of probably Intermountain wheel sets sitting in a bin. And when it gets down to the bottom,
I was ordering the Intermountain number 33-inch and the number 5 couplers from Steve on a regular $100 per thing, and he sends me a private email one day. He goes, "What are you doing with all these?" I said, "I'm refitting every train I have with my rolling stock with them." And he was like, "Oh, so I do have about 200 wheel sets still in my box." And I like doing that because it actually is cheaper in the long run.
Yeah. And it's always in business, in personal life, in model trains, it's always cheaper to be prepared than it is to be reactive.
Yes, true. Very true.
If I'm in model trains, if I get a piece of rolling stock and I was like, oh crap, now I need 2 couplers and four wheel sets, and I only ordered 2 couplers, generally 2 pairs of couplers and a pack of 12 wheel sets, I pay more because I only ordered a couple.
Right.
And I'm spending time on that individual. It's just easier to be prepared than it is to be reactive.
It is. Wall Bonnet Trains wants to know, do you acquire or sell collections and use merchandise?
We don't. We did very early on. There's a lot of, we found it substantially easier to say this product is brand new in box. It's never been opened. We're happy to deal with the issues. If either us directly or direct to the manufacturer, we can deal with these issues versus the manpower that's involved in testing all of the individual pieces of a collection really adds up, and people generally don't want to pay any money for used items. Like, yes, they're willing to buy the used items, but they want it to get it as cheap as possible. And it's like, well, we could sell it as cheap as possible, but then we're not going to invest any time in it to check any of it. So it's proved better for customer service to stay out of the used market.
Right. Sparky 107 says, Steve, what is your favorite model train, locomotive or otherwise? It's more of a personal.
Yeah. Are we talking brand, like brand lines, or?
I would assume it would be.
Yeah, I mean, I'm an N-scaler, so I think my favorite brand as far as rolling stock goes is Microtrains, because of the options that they give you, and because they continue to produce new product. They keep it all interesting, and their specialty lines are always interesting. I don't necessarily get all their specialty lines, but like they did a Railbox line recently,
Right.
Railbox Graffiti, and like I really like Railbox cars, and I know that they'll continue to put out new things, more new things that I can continually get. Locomotives, I think my favorite locomotive brand is still Fox Valley Models. They don't produce a ton of stuff, but the stuff they do produce is high quality.
Yes, I agree with that. It's a lot of Container Man 68. I don't know if you know of him, Steve, but
that's Roy, right?
Yes, he's a truck driver.
Yeah.
And he said, I just had it. Oh, here it is. It would be really nice if Midwest Modeler had truck parking. I think their local HOA would get upset if I drove the truck minus the trailer down their streets.
Yeah.
I think somebody would get a little upset.
I think we're in the market for a new facility in 2019, and I think truck parking is not going to be an issue.
There you go, Container Man 68. Minus the trailer, of course. Where is it? The only reason why I go to my local hobby shop is because the used section is super cheap. But I think Sam Cool that the reason why it's super cheap is because his other products are paying for the space that stuff occupies. That would be correct, right?
Yeah. The last time we bought a collection to sell off, I didn't calculate it, but I know it was in the hundreds of hours that we spent on locomotives, cleaning them up to make sure they worked. And then the amount of rolling stock, the amount of time that it takes just to sell an individual piece of rolling stock via online, it got to the point where we sold it by the box. Like, great, I've packed up this box of whatever fit in this priority mail, medium or large shipping box. Shipping on it is whatever the shipping rate was. Here's all the pieces in it. We're not breaking it up. This is the price. We'll ship you the whole box. We're not opening it again. I've already packaged it. It's ready to go. Because it was taking up space and we just wanted it out the door. I think we even ended up selling the boxes on eBay auction just to get them out the door. Like, great, I know these will be sold in 7 days. I don't care what price they go for. We're not breaking it up. This is as is. We didn't offer combined shipping. We didn't offer anything. You bought a box. The box plus the shipping cost is what went. You bought 2 boxes. You paid for the 2 boxes. You paid for 2 shipping costs and out the door, just to get it out the door.
True. Sparky X, which is a good question. I always go through a hobby shop just in case I need advice or some kind of product support. You know.
Yeah, that's we've had a bunch of discussion with Walters. One of Walters' big keywords when talking to new dealers is value-added services, and they, a local hobby shop can provide a value-added service that an online retailer just can't.
That's true. Yeah. I have to interject here myself. I've always in the New York area, we have a couple of ones in Brooklyn, New York, and the one in Jersey that I go to. But I always find that there's a sort of an elitist attitude.
Yeah, I think the idea it's saying the idea behind a local hobby shop can provide a service that an online hobby shop can't is no longer true. I can't personally be hands-on. Like, you can't bring the locomotive to me. I mean, you can, but I can't be hands-on and sit there and fix that locomotive with you. But through online content, through. We used to produce a bunch of online videos on how-to type stuff. We've partnered with other content providers to make sure there's information about all these general questions that happen in the hobby that we would get. That people contact us all the time, and I can say, hey, go check out this video from Ron's Trains and Things. Go check out this video from, and the person doesn't even have to leave their house. They have the content right there in front of them at a moment's notice. Like somebody contacted us the other day about something about car waiting, and I said Eric Hall has a great video about how to wait cars and how to deal with all this and the products to use. You can pick them up. You don't have to go to your local hobby shop for them. You can pick them up at your local Walmart for way cheaper than you'd ever buy them. They're not specific to model railroading, but it's a better product. So the value we've done layout designs for people. I've troubleshot I've spent tons of time on the phone troubleshooting DCC products. We can provide all of these services that a local hobby shop does. The idea that we're this faceless organization that lives, in a cave and no one can ever find us. We're just a portal online, click a thing, product ships. No, we're still accessible. We're still available to work on these things with people.
Well, I think that's true, and I think it's also based on the relationship that you've developed. If I know for a fact for myself, I know I've had a relationship, a friendship with you prior to you doing the hobby shop, but I know that there have been numerous times when I've gotten a product from you that I've emailed you in regards and with questions on if this was the right product that I was looking for, or could you recommend other products? And you've always been, quite quick to respond. So, it's not like it's not like the other. I think that's the upside of this, is that a lot of people, it's a question of like when you see, an Eric Hall video and Steve Brown video and regular guy video and Ron Trains and Things, and they say in the middle of their show, this is sponsored by Midwest Mom. That everybody knows, oh, that's Steve Atwell. Oh, I know that guy. So there's a little bit more upside to this, because now people can actually reach out to you and say, hey, this is my problem, this is my situation, or this is what I'm thinking of doing. What do you recommend for this? And I think that's the upside to building your business, is that there's a more personal effect to it. I know all the track for the South Brooklyn Railroad was purchased from Midwest Model, and I will say up front and personally that there was no, whatever your price was what it was. And I have to tell you, and I'm not just saying this to kiss up, maybe a little bit, but not. But when I looked online for the pricing of all this track, and it's all Pico track and Pico switches, you guys know that's not cheap. And the guy that I was using in Montana, he was relatively the best price all. When I went to Steve and I saw his price, he beat them by at least $1. But you add that $1 up to what I bought.
Yeah, and that's
a substantial amount of savings.
I know when we did your order, you reached out to us and said, here's the full list of everything I'm looking for. And we'd known each other for years at that point, and you flat out said to me, I do not want the friends and family price. I want, I understand it's a business, and I think I told you, well, with us, there is no friends and family price, because everybody gets the friends and family price.
Right.
We haven't set it up that John Doe from whoever pays a certain price so that I can offer a friends and family price to everyone else. We've set it up so that everyone gets that friends and family price. If it's a price that we can sell it at, we sell it at that price. We want everyone to be able to get that price. We want everyone to start building in a hobby. We don't want there to be a barrier to entry. We don't want there to be a good old boys club of, oh, because I know this guy, I got this nice thing, but it's because I knew him that I got it for this price. And no. We want no barriers to entry. We want people to enjoy the hobby at a decent price.
Absolutely. I was privileged to get when my order was being shipped, I remember distinctly that Steve gave me a pictorial of He sent me an email with pictures. He says, I want you to let you know that this is like wrestling a 5-year-old child into the back of my car. And he showed me the box. And when the box arrived, the post guy, my regular postman, he was like, are you freaking kidding me? He says, come down to the truck and get this. I am not carrying it up the stairs. So it was a very, very large box. Very large. Eric Hall. Eric Hall, where are you, Eric? I just see your thing here, Eric. Trying to get it. Where is it? I just saw it. He says, we are serious men. There it is. Stop the bromance. This is serious. We are all very serious men. You're right. We are. Sorry. Ron and Train says, we're all friends and family here. That's what I'm going to do on my pricing from now on. Let's see. The Bob's Man Cave. Where are you, the Bob? Okay, hold on. The Bob
address.
I can't find there without an address. How can I find
this? That's true. So all of the space we're in now, we don't make our address just open to the public knowledge, because we do by appointment only based on when we are present. So you can contact us and we can always set up a time, and that will change a bit in 2019. We're looking for a new space that we can probably keep more steady business hours, especially now that we have a new employee top of this year. We'll be able to be more responsive to surprise visitors.
Okay. What's his name? Container Man 68 says, Steve, are you building right now the northwest corner within walking distance of your house?
No, we're not.
Okay, there you go. Let's see. There was another question.
Be a nice commute, though.
What's that?
That would be a nice commute.
Yeah, that would be, right? Roll out with a cup of coffee in your hand and still in your plaid pajamas. Yeah. Oh, Sparky wants to know, what is it that got you hooked into the model railroading hobby?
It was a bit of a surprise for me, actually. When I was a kid, I had model trains. All my model trains went away in about 4th grade. And when I was in college, I think I went to a restaurant in a strip mall in college that had the hobby shop in it in Springfield, Missouri. And I was like, oh, I got some time. I'm going to wander into this train shop. And I walked out with, I think initially like a book or two. And pretty quickly I found that I was still interested in the hobby as a kid. And it caught me by surprise a bit. I bought a book or two, and next thing I knew, I had a little, 3-foot by 5-foot layout that was in my college apartment.
Right. Right. What do Eric Hall wants to know, what do you think about the state of N-scale buildings in the hobby, aka modern larger warehouse styles and other modern industries? Oh,
this is a topic that I've had discussions on many times. There's a lack of certain styles of concrete style tilt-up buildings. I'm not sure what we do to rectify that. But I wish somebody was producing them so that we could carry them.
Yeah. Yeah. What's his name? You don't. Okay, but just to make it clear, just so you guys know, is Midwest Model Hobby Shop Railroad does not only. He does all scale, HON, everything. Just so that you know that he's not strictly an N scale supplier, but he does have N scale, Steve. And Eric Hall says by appointment is the same with the few online hobby shops such as Mike Pfeiffer's. I did believe is the same way, which only makes sense, guys, because you don't want random people showing up at your house and saying, "Hi, I've seen you on YouTube Model Builders or YouTube, and I'd like to come in here and rob you and stuff like that. So, you know, we got to protect our. And Eric Hall says, remind Mr. Atwell he is a very accomplished modeler. He has some very cool stuff he has built. Yes, he has, and we didn't get a chance to get to all of that. And he built a really fine Art Deco train station that I thought early when I first met Steve, I was like, you know, when he was happened to be on one of the hangouts that we used to do on Google Plus, he was showing me this Art Deco building, and I was like, I am definitely outclassed here. I was good with putting two pieces of plastic together from Walters, but he is definitely an accomplished model builder, an accomplished.
Yeah, that was scratch building. I find scratch. I really enjoy scratch building. Sometimes I use the hobby as an escape from real life, and
sure.
With scratch building, there's a lot of. I'll try to plan it out, and I'll actually use like a Google SketchUp to plan everything out. But then as I'm building it, like if I'm not solely concentrated on the scratch build, it's not going to go well. So it's a great way for like, wow, everything else in my life may be goofy right now, but like I need to kind of clear my mind. So I'll sit down and do a scratch build where I know that I'm solely going to be involved in that project only.
Right. Exactly.
And it's actually, you know, scratch building is generally, scratch building is a bit, it seems to be scary for a lot of people to get involved in it. And it's actually, I think a really simple thing. And we made a bunch of YouTube videos about scratch building years ago. You know, it's Midwest Model Railroad on YouTube. But, you know, most buildings are boxes. And, you know, you can build a box pretty quickly. I think I did a real-time box build, you know, a real-time box build is kind of a quick video on YouTube about just building a small box. And that's all a building really is for the most part, especially sort of warehouse. And then you can always add, you just add detail as you see later. But yeah, I very much enjoy scratch building. I've done some projects for people that, had I looked at it you know, and they just contacted me and said, hey, will you build this? And sent me a picture. I probably would have said no, but we'd already started a conversation about it. And then they said, yeah, here's the picture of it. And I went, oh, I don't know. And that Art Deco building was the first one really that I was kind of like, I don't know that I can do this. And, you know, I said, but it's a challenge that I'm willing to try. And I remember talking to the guy and I said, yeah, so I'm willing to give this a shot. And he said, great, how much? And I said, no, I want to give parts of this a shot before I even agree to do the rest of it. And so like I you know, it probably cost me maybe $1 in styrene to build the most difficult part of it. And it took me 2 attempts to kind of figure out exactly what I wanted to do. So I had two attempts at the difficult, what I viewed as going to be the most difficult part. And the second attempt came out pretty good. And so I contacted him back and said, all right, I'll build the building. And so the most difficult part I got 3 attempts at for the final building. And the rest of the building was kind of, you know, a box on top of a box with a big, and then one of them with a big curved wall. Right. You know, but you can always break it down into the box, and you don't have to, you know, it only has to be a representation. You know, not all of us need an exact scale model of the prototype. You know, right. You can get the same idea out of a representation. You know, not all, oh, that thing has some really curved walls or this, that, and the other thing. You can get the same feeling with a straight wall.
True. Very true. Gaffer Haynes, he says, I scratch build everything I possibly can. I love the feeling of designing and building all aspects of what I make. And I have one last question here before we, because we're an hour, is from Eric Hall. And he says, this is a very important question, a very serious one. He says he wants Steve's opinion on sand. And Ron Trains and Things says, yes, Steve, tell us your feelings about sand. It seems
these guys know a little bit more about what I do outside of the hobby as well.
It's apparent. So Steve, what is your opinion about sand?
As of today, I'm not a big fan of sand.
Yes, I think we know the reason why.
Yeah, for the little bit of information there is, I work outside the hobby quite a bit in theater. And one of my shows is closed last week, and we're taking it out of its theater here in New York on 50th Street. And this particular show had the initial install. We put in 4 tons of sand as the stage floor. We were adding 600 pounds of sand every week for sand that would walk out on people's feet, would float into the air, would float off. Surprisingly, sand likes to find ways out of spaces that it's in. Most people experience this by kids in sandboxes that bring it all home, or sand on your clothes from going to a beach still 4 months later. So we've been taking this show out, and it is, we knew it wouldn't be clean coming out. None of us had any idea that it would be this bad, because the majority of the sand can get shoveled up, but the fine powder that is in sand that has found its way into the air over 14 months is it's a little unbelievable. Things that were black are now solid gray, and it's not like it's just a fine dusting sitting on top. It's I feel bad for the shop. It's going to take some time to to get this stuff cleaned up.
Yeah. The job interview, they didn't say that. They said, "Oh, look, you're going to meet all these famous actors." Yeah, thank you. Oh, by the way, here's a shovel. Clean out the pit.
Yeah.
Steve, it's been an absolute honor and a privilege having you on the show. We're definitely going to have you on again when things turn around in your shop, and if you get a new retail space, we got to do a live show from there. Give everybody a walking tour of what's going on there. But again, thank you so very, very much for being a part of this, and I'm sure the community out there appreciates it. Just to give you guys a heads up, tomorrow's Thursday, the 10th, and that's when we're going to do Johnny's Train Talk show. That's there every Thursday, regardless of what it's like outside, regardless of whether there's an apocalypse on its way and the 4 horsemen are showing up. Johnny's Train Talk show will be on, and it's up an opportunity for you guys to get out there and to be a part of that and to get on it and to see it. And if you have any ideas or anything whatsoever you'd like to share, show, or just be a part of it, just join in. And we have the Q&A as well. And next, the 16th of January, we're going to have Joe's Train Room. And I don't know what we're doing for Joe's Train Room, but it's always interesting and it's always fun with Joe. So we're going to be doing that as well. And then on the 23rd, we are coming back here with Who's Big Bill Talking To, and we'll have a special guest from out of the country. I'm going to see if he can get his visa and passport ready to make his way into New York, but definitely have it. So Steve, once again, thank you so very much for being a part of this.
Oh, thanks, Bill.
Appreciate it. And you guys out there, I think he put his, I think he did, Midwest Model, I'm trying to see if I can see it.
MidwestModelRR.com.
Yes, MidwestModelRR.com. Go check out the website. He has some really great prices, some really good stuff out there. And go check out the clearance rack. I always do. It's got some good stuff there. And whether it's $1,000, whether it's $1 million worth of merchandise or $6, you always get the same professional courtesy of customer service. So with that said, you guys out there, thank you for being a part of the community and watching, because without you, we're just talking to thin air. So take care, God bless, and we'll see you guys on the radio. Bye-bye.